man. First, I want to start off with the Sacramento Kings. The rumors are out, man. Clutch Sports is letting it be known. San Antonio, Wemby is a destination for De'Aaron Fox. Possible,
Yeah.
but when was the last time we seen the fucking Spurs as a destination? Think about that.
And since LaMarcus Aldridge,
Ooh, but he wasn't like he wasn't on Fox's talent level though.
he was bigger than Fox.
Really? You think so?
Yeah. Yeah, of course, man. He was a multi-time All-Star in Portland, led them to the playoffs. Fox
Oh,
has
that's
like
a
one
good
playoff.
point. That's a good point.
Fox has like one playoff. I think the thing is, LaMarcus' game was boring, but as an individual player, LaMarcus was a much more successful player.
Yeah, he was, but you know what? It was his era though. Like that power forward
Yeah,
kind of era. Yeah, where the game's a little bit slower.
he was their biggest free agent in that whole like decade. Because Spurs they never really went out for like big free agents there. A lot of their talent was really like Tim, and Parker. Well, no,
Yeah.
Tony, Tim, and Ginobili. My bad. Yeah,
Yeah, but with this situation with De'Aaron Fox, so Rich Paul told the Kings it's wise to trade him sooner than later. And
yeah,
they should consider dealing Fox before the trade deadline. And that's crazy because, you know, De'Aaron Fox recently signed with Clutch Sports, I think 2 seasons ago or season ago. And
yeah,
Clutch is known for getting their agents paid. They're known for
yeah. I
getting them
think
paid. And if San Antonio is a destination, are the Spurs, they're not really known for paying guys the full max. That's the funny
Man,
thing.
I'm,
They're just like Miami.
but I'm gonna be honest. For me, it doesn't really make sense why the Spurs would bite the bullet for De'Aaron Fox.
They'll bite the bullet. What do you mean?
Like for me, it's like if you're San Antonio, your core is young. You know you can still build up draft capital and everything, and your team is not bad. It's fun. Why would you get someone that's entering his prime? And De'Aaron Fox, how much of the needle does he really move? If we're keeping it real, but I think Sacramento's successful seasons has been like because Sabonis has been the franchise player, right? So how much does the needle like De'Aaron really move for the San Antonio Spurs? Like, does it move enough for me to be like they're a top 5 team? No, I don't think so. So are you just trying to be a play-in team with De'Aaron Fox and commit all that money for what?
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I think De'Aaron Fox would be a good fit with the Spurs, man.
He
He
would, but like, what? Like, okay, do you have him better than like the Nuggets? Better than like,
no, he
yeah,
wouldn't be the final piece, but he would be a great piece to have because he will actually give the Spurs something that they need. Someone to handle the ball, someone to get Wemby the ball in his spots, someone to run pick and roll with Wemby. The only thing the Spurs would need is an additional shooter, which they don't have to cut a max deal for. They can just get like a mid-tier, mid-level guy, but just get a good shooter. That's all they would
yeah, I
really
agree.
be missing.
But like for me, it's like there's not much of a like San Antonio hasn't really been a free agent destination despite being a consistent organization. So I just don't really see a rush to like really speed things up. If I'm Houston, that's a whole different conversation because
Mm-hmm.
Houston and Orlando should probably speed things up because they can actually compete with like Oklahoma and Denver Nuggets and those kind of organizations. So you kind of bite the bullet for a player on his prime and he
Yo,
can
but
make a
I'm not
big
gonna lie.
impact
I
for
agree
you.
with you, Houston. When we're gonna talk about that in a second, Houston, the Magic, it would be a great fit. But
It would be more ideal.
the thing that stuck out is that they said Fox's preferred destination is San Antonio.
Yeah. It
Mm,
makes sense. I mean, Harrison Barnes is a veteran he got along with for a long time. San Antonio is known for a good culture. It's a winning team, so it would make sense why. And obviously, you have the biggest prospect in the world.
exactly. And you got Wemby on a still on a rookie deal, and
Yeah,
De'Aaron Fox, he's a Clutch Sports client. You know they're gonna want to get paid.
yeah, but it just depends on the Spurs. And I think Fox is gonna get paid, but or like, would it be ideal for the Spurs to pay him and kind of go from there on? It's gonna be interesting, and I wonder how much are they really gonna give because like I think Devin Vassell they invested a lot of money in, and obviously Castles is a good rookie. So that is one thing I also wonder too is how much are they willing to give?
Yeah,
How much
Vessel
are they willing
is
to give
really the
in?
only guy they had to up his deal. Everybody else is gonna be on a rookie scale deal.
I think Sohan is Sohan on this fourth season?
Nah, Jeremy Sohan he's on a rookie scale for until 2026.
Okay, so Sohan is okay.
2026, 27.
So we're
So
looking at like two free agencies later.
yeah, same
Yeah,
thing.
okay.
Same thing for most of their players. The only one that's on a deal is Devin. Devin's the only one, and Keldon.
Devin Vassell got like 140, I think, right?
Hmm.
If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he got
And then
27 a year, and then
yeah,
Keldon got 19 and 17. His is going
Keldon's
down.
expandable for them at this point. But
Yeah,
yeah,
the
you don't have
Spurs,
much guys.
the Spurs for next season, they only have 129 million committed, and and
Yeah,
and, and the
they're not. They
max
haven't
cap
spent a lot.
is like 80 is like 100 80 190. So
And I think Harrison and Chris Paul are on a 1 year deal.
yeah, the Spurs they don't really have a lot of money that they spent.
No,
They're not
they're
committed to that many contracts next season.
yeah.
So
I think
yeah,
Champagne's also on a rookie deal. So they have a lot of their young guys who are on a rookie deal. So
to
they could throw the money at Fox if they wanted to.
to
But
me,
will they is like the conversation, and how much like it just comes down to how much better does the Spurs get from like having Fox. It's like if they get a Fox and like a Devin Booker, it makes sense. You know, you could speed it up.
nah, they don't need a Devin Booker. They just need a Fox, and they need like who's a perfect example I could give? Just a what's that shooter the Suns have? What's his
Grayson
name?
Allen.
Grayson Allen. Like that archetype. They need like a
Yeah, but
Grayson
how much
Allen
better does
archetype.
that like make the Spurs? That's
That
like
makes the
my thing.
Spurs
Like,
much better because remember they have Vessel, and then they have Wemby, of course, and they have think about it, pick and roll with Fox and Wemby. Then you got Vessel, and then you got another floor spacer who's a
so
shooter. That's deadly, man.
so you want them to go
And
to
then you
like the
have
Dallas.
Castle.
You want them to go like the Dallas Mavericks route, where you just like kind of commit to winning now. When they made like the Porzingis trade.
It's not really winning now. It's more of competing on a higher level. Like everyone kind of wins because when you think about De'Aaron Fox, now he's going to be in a place where his profile is going to be much higher because he's with Wemby, and at the same time
Yeah,
he lifts Wemby up into that next tier to compete, probably like the fourth, fifth seed in the West. They start to work their way up. I feel like the Spurs at some point leveling up is the next step, and if they really plan on cashing in their 4 first-round picks and actually using them this summer, then they're gonna be kind of in the same boat next season. They're gonna have guys kind of working through the kinks. They're gonna be on the verge of play-in, probably knocked out or not even making the play-in.
yeah. I mean, that's the Spurs. I think that's the Spurs this season. I think next season you're gonna see a lot of better product from the Spurs.
No, but what
To
I'm
be
saying is
honest with
that
you,
this summer the Spurs have 4 potential first-round picks.
yeah,
If they stay conservative and use all of them, then they're looking at
yeah,
almost the
that's
same
whack.
thing.
They'll have to move some. They'll have to move some of them for a lot of veteran piece.
Hey, right now, move some of them for De'Aaron Fox. Give up at least 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot more sense
Now,
because Fox makes him a play-in team.
the only thing is that the salaries. Ooh, this is where it get tricky now.
Yeah,
The salaries is where it's to figure out, okay, what they have to give up. So De'Aaron Fox is like 34, 37 million.
yeah,
So they would have to eat. Yeah, they would have to mix in possibly 2 guys for that. Man, they could probably sacrifice Keldon. Man, it would be crazy if they asked for Vessel, the Kings.
bro. The Kings.
If they asked for
I'm gonna be
Vessel,
honest.
I don't know if I would do it if I was the Spurs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? So there's a lot that goes into it. Where like I think the Spurs, like one thing about the Kings is I don't think the Kings are like I don't think the Kings are committed to a rebuild, to be honest with you, bro. Like if Fox trade goes down, I don't think they're gonna commit to a rebuild.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Kings
because dude,
honestly, they just fired their coach. You know, I would say in the past
yeah,
like 10, 15 years, they're not the most steady franchise. And ever since they beat the Warriors, well, almost beat the Warriors, they went to 7 games in
Yeah,
that light the beam
that
season,
series.
they really haven't kind of like taken the next steps up.
No, they haven't. But you also have to look at it. The Kings have currently, like, you could Sabonis has an argument for a top 20 player, right? So like those don't come around every day, and you have a top 20 player at his prime who's committed on a long contract. Like, I just don't see a reason why the Kings would want to be trashed that quick, despite not being a consistently winning franchise.
I agree, but you know, it's crazy because you could even see like them picking up DeMar DeRozan, right?
Hmm.
DeRozan, honestly, people are still questioning whether he should come off the bench at this point. He's nice, but it's almost like, does he make the whole unit, like the whole team better? Like, does he lift them up to the next level? And it's really like, it's sort of like the Knicks when they signed Amari Stoudemire, when they lost out on
Yeah,
LeBron and they lost out on D Wade and Bosh. They just got the next
yeah.
best available, and that's what it feels like the Kings are doing right here with the signing of DeRozan at age 35. They have him until age 37.
And that's the only thing they could do at the time. Like, you got to change something up, right? And DeRozan made sense for the time being.
Yeah, it's just they're sort of it's crazy because they got a new coach, Doug Christie, doing his thing. They're on a winning streak, and these rumors still come out. It seems like De'Aaron Fox is just not sold on this.
No, there's nothing to be sold on it for the Kings. But also, what's crazy is a lot of the Kings' free agencies only stayed because of, like, Fox. I think, like, Sabonis' main reason for signing that extension was to play next to Fox. You look at Malik Monk and Fox were obviously teammates in college. That was his reason of staying. DeMar DeRozan, I assume, came because of, I don't know his exact reasons, but I assume Fox is one of his main reasons. So a lot of these free agents did come to play next to Fox, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of crazy right now, like, how kind of the team dynamic is changing, where a lot of these guys came because of Fox, and now the conversation has kind of been like, well, Fox wants out of the picture.
Now, it's funny you say that because it seems like this has been a sentiment that's been building up in Sacramento for a minute. Fox kind of hinting, remember, he didn't want to sign the extension, and then
Yeah.
they let go of the coach. This stuff has been building up for quite some time. So it's not like, a lot of this is new or anything like that. But my only thing is that with San Antonio, right? Because they do have enough to make this trade. Let's say if they do,
Hmm.
they haven't really been that type of franchise where they make these type of splashes. They've been the slow, steady, hey, can you take a pay cut here? Oh, we got a nice player, but we're not quite signing him to the max. We've even seen them almost run that game on Kawhi in a way. Because remember, Kawhi's contract was coming up. Then he had the injuries. They were trying to force him to come back faster.
And then Parker made those comments that
Yeah,
kind
it's
of pissed
like the
off.
Spurs.
Yeah.
The Spurs way has always been the Tim Duncan way, meaning that,
Yeah.
hey, I'm the best, perhaps the best player in the league or one of the best, but I'm taking a haircut in my in my
Yeah.
in my in my max salary, that I could take. So
The Spurs are one of those franchises who are lucky to have, like, franchise like players, because you look at David Robinson and Tim Duncan's personalities, right? They're very, like, kind of like, they're not very star driven despite being like superstars, MVPs. And they kind of got lucky with that. There was not much of a strong ego with either player throughout their time.
yeah, it's almost
So
like the Spurs, like that military kind of mindset. You're all about
yeah,
the flag.
discipline, all that stuff.
Yeah, no, it's not even that.
Yeah.
You're all about the flags, not the individual. It's all about the
Yeah.
flag. So it's like it's all about the Spurs, the logo.
We don't know how Wemby is young. Because we viewed what Kawhi Leonard to be the same way for the longest time until, like he said, until, like, his kind of like his uncle, like, a lot of people blame his uncle too. I think his uncle, like, in retrospect, his uncle was in the right. But with how Kawhi and his people operated and stuff, people's kind of view on the Spurs and how, like, even Kawhi and kind of like San Antonio superstars changed
Yeah, but
in that time period.
eventually we're gonna get to this, man, because I think Heat culture is very similar to Spurs culture, meaning that these
Yeah,
franchises, they don't say it directly to your face, but it's implied. Hey, when your contracts start coming up, there's a little like, you know, we need you to help us finesse a little bit. We don't
yeah,
we're kind of hinting we don't want you to take the full max, take a little haircut here. It's always that
Or
sentiment. Shit get funny when the contracts are coming up all the
well,
time.
yeah, the culture gets exposed to it at the same time when both the Miami Heat and the San Antonio Spurs both ran to the media at the same time. Like Popovich, Ginobili, and Tony Parker. They all made some comments regarding his injury. I think Tony Parker said I recovered from something similar or something more brutal, and I recovered a lot sooner. So you see the kind of similar with Miami Heat, especially with the way Pat Riley has handled it. So you do see like now I think a lot of these like quote unquote cultures are now kind of being exposed as time progresses. Like I said, bro, like 2018, wait, was it 2018 San Antonio Spurs? It just reminds me of the same with this current Miami Heat, where people are kind of like, oh, maybe the culture isn't what we deem to be all that.
Yeah, and before we get to the Miami Heat culture, let's look at what Shams had to say in regards to the situation with De'Aaron Fox.
Oh no. This is let me add the context. We were talking
Oh,
about destinations, right?
mm-hmm.
And obviously like Orlando and Orlando's mentioned, Houston and San Antonio and these kind of organizations, kind of like young organizations. And obviously like Rich Paul, and we know who Rich Paul's synonymous with, right? The two boys in LA. So we just assume like, the Lakers would be something that he could really entertain. But this clip is Sham Sharma kind of talking about how De'Aaron Fox isn't really interested in going to LA.
Ooh. Okay, let's take a listen
Yeah.
to it.
Thing I can say with Rich Paul, we know he's got LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the Lakers. I'm told the Lakers are not part of that destination of choice for De'Aaron Fox potentially, but he is now potentially entering the NBA's trade market.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So
The Lakers lose out again.
Yeah.
Yo,
I mean, dude,
the
this
Lakers,
is crazy
oh
because
my God.
he didn't even like his people, like Rich Paul's people. Like since what 2018, we've heard like, oh, Rich Paul's like tightly connected with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, whatever conspiracies, right? And it's just crazy how the first thing they do is tell the media like scratch the Lakers name off the list. And I think I'm not trying to go sidetrack,
Mhm.
but from what I've seen, right, I also saw a rumor that Anthony Davis wants a center on the team. So it seems like there is a little bit of frustrations with the Lakers organization. It seems like not from LeBron's end, but probably like Paul's clients.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah. So Anthony Davis, I think he sat down with Shams, I believe.
Yeah,
And he's been doing interviews. Well, clips have been dropping all throughout social media throughout the week. And yeah, it seems like you're right. He has a bit of frustration with the way the Lakers are constructed, the way they are right now. And Shams, once again, he's made his name by being a great I don't want to say like a great reporter with player relations instead of
he's
front
done the
office
TMZ route.
relations.
Yeah,
Not really. He kind of did more of the player relationship route instead of like the front office route. Like Woj is more
like Woj. Woj was more
front
front office.
office guys.
Yeah.
Shams is more like the player guy.
Yeah,
They trust him. They trust him a lot. Woj, I don't know if they trusted him like that. He just had front office connects.
I think it's just a generational thing, right? Where Woj a lot of orders, or his connections with the front office made a lot more sense. Where Sham is younger and he's really made his bones when the player empowerment and all that stuff was happening.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's interesting you saying that. So a bit of frustration in LA. I never thought of it like that. But the
Yeah.
Lakers, once again, AD, he's never been that guy that wants to bang down low for a whole 82 games. Because the way AD plays, he's real aggressive, but he's real kind of sometimes clumsy. You know what I mean? Like the way he lands when he's coming down, after dunking the ball or even getting a rebound or even blocking a shot. AD sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes I always thought he played like a point guard, or like a guard. The way he jumps
He played
around,
like a shooting guard.
Yeah, the way he lands on the floor. I'm like, yo, you're not small, but it's just AD. He has every right to be kind of frustrated in LA because at the end of the day, they made a whole ordeal just to get Bronny when they could have drafted.
I think that too, but it's always been something he's always been hesitant on since like New Orleans. Like he's always preferred to play that 4 position, right? And his frustration's like I'm forced to play the 5.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, LeBron, this is what we were talking about last time when I said the Lakers are always going to be in a predicament because LeBron is listed as their power forward in their starting lineup, but every time
Yeah,
on offense, he plays the
he's a
point
point
guard.
guard.
So imagine
Yeah,
if AD now is listed at power forward, that means they're going to list LeBron at small forward and they're going to have a center. And on offense, AD is going to be power forward, center.
it's gonna be stagnant.
Yeah, and then LeBron's going to be listed at point guard, and then whoever's a shooting guard, and someone's going to have to shift. Like, it's going to be a weird. It's just not how LeBron plays. LeBron has to have 3 other shooters around him.
Yeah,
It's
and
always
Anthony
worked
Davis
like
kind
that.
of stuck. And the problem is Anthony Davis is no Dirk Nowitzki, where he's gonna knock down like 3s consistently too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Super interesting insight you kind of gave there with AD showing a
I
bit
think
frustration on the lineups.
I think even LeBron. I think it was both camps. Like the LeBron camp also said they're kind of tired of like how the organization has handled the roster structures. I could be wrong, but I know the Anthony Davis one was the most noteworthy because obviously like they're kind of putting Vucevic's name next to the Lakers and Jonas Valanciunas and kind of like those available big guys.
Yeah, the only thing with LeBron, I wish he is a bit more specific when he speaks on the roster construction because the Lakers did kind of start off in a hole because he wanted Westbrook on the team. So if they're
Yeah.
lacking and then you wanted your son on the team now, you got to say, hey, where were there opportunities to get the needs that you wanted? Because I'm curious on that. Like, where were those opportunities?
Yeah, and I also find it interesting that it's Anthony Davis speaking out, right? Because LeBron in his history, you look at LeBron and kind of like how he's kind of like bullied teams, right? It's always been like kind of like media, like he's going to the media and he tells them like to the press. He does the whole transparency, whether people like it or not. But this past few seasons, there's not much of a transparency with how he wants his roster to be, constructed. Like he had a lot of you remember early on in the Spoelstra and LeBron era where he's like, man, I want Pat Riley to coach me because he was insisting that Pat Riley should be the head coach of the Miami Heat. And when you look at when you look at Cleveland, the 2017 season, when LeBron went to the media and he said, I want another ball handler. I need a point guard. And the Cleveland Cavaliers went ahead and signed Darren Williams, who
Yeah,
was coming
De'Aaron
off a
Williams,
buyout deal with the
and
Dallas
then
Mavericks.
low key, they're
Yeah.
trying to trade Kyrie for Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah, Kyrie for Eric Bledsoe. That was ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm not
that was
gonna lie.
ridiculous. I know.
I'm not gonna lie, because Bledsoe, like 3 years later, was out the league. And then who else, man? I mean, there's a lot of examples. The whole construction with LeBron's roster and kind of LeBron saying this is a team. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So like LeBron has been very vocal in how teams are built. But with the Lakers, you see him kind of take like a much more relaxed stance, which makes sense because he's a lot older and he's not competing with the top guys. But Anthony Davis, who's 30 years old, he's looking at it. He's like, man, like I can
He's
still
wasting his
compete.
prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I'm like, man, the Lakers been kind of quiet despite them being trash. You know what I mean? Like, there's not much of a loud voice in LA. It's like, man, what are we doing?
And
So
interesting
this
enough,
is like the first season they're getting pushback.
and interesting enough, you said AD. Well, interesting you mentioned AD with that situation because he also talked about how the hell Wemby is defensive player of the year. He kind of was like trying to throw his name in the hat, like I'm killing it too. Like it's almost like AD is trying to put himself out there.
And I think also what's pissing him off is I also think what's gonna piss him off more is the fact that he's not an all-star starter. Despite I could argue having a better season than LeBron James and even Kevin Durant.
Yeah, it's interesting. The coaches and the players
And the
have,
media.
yeah, and the
The media, the fans, everyone. They don't view Anthony Davis up to par with
the
up
top
to par
players
with
and
like Jokic and even Embiid. I'm gonna be honest, like they have Karl Anthony Towns at this point in that par.
you know what? I never thought of it like that. They did all of a sudden jump him ahead of AD. Nobody saw that coming. Had you said
No,
that last year, people would view Cat as a better
he would have been
player
he would
than
have been painted
AD.
as stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have
Wow.
been like, man, what the fuck are you on about?
Now,
Like now,
okay.
Karl Anthony Towns is
Mhm.
like a top 3 center in the league.
Yo, you know what's so crazy? What if now AD is realizing the eventual LeBron James trap when you play with him? Because we seen D Wade kind of go through it
But
when
D Wade, there was a difference though, because D Wade was like, at that point, like his prime was what 2005 to 2009, 10, 11, right?
no,
So like,
he still was in his prime.
no,
Probably
he
the
was
first
still
two
killing, but
seasons
like
in Miami. He was still in his prime, but the only thing he was struggling with was
injuries.
was with the limelight of LeBron was so bright when he went to Miami. That's when D Wade started dressing up with the showing off the ankles. When you see an NBA player start to dress up a lot, they're trying to get attention. When they all of a
I
sudden
get,
dressing crazy, like
but dude, he played with Shaq. Like, I don't know. Like
he
for
did,
me,
but
I
he
think
wasn't
Wade.
wearing those ankle outfits. Like he started dressing crazy when LeBron came through because
Yeah, but
that
also I think
spotlight
that
was no
sense of
longer on
fashion.
him.
I think the sense of fashion changed too with hip hop culture and like, with like you remember like the leather skirts where everyone used to go crazy about and kind of like skinny jeans and all that stuff. You kind of saw like a rise, and I think Wade was kind of ahead of that. But I think like his peak, like if we're speaking, is like what 2009 where he was a flash. Like his flash era was where he was peak. Where like in Dallas, like he was great in the 2011 run, and if Dallas won, he would have been Finals MVP. I think we all agree on that. Oh my bad. On that.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But all I'm saying is that when you
Yeah.
do play with LeBron, there is his star power in the league, especially with the media, is so
I'll say it's more
big.
to do with Bosch. I think Bosch took a hit.
No, you take a hit. Wade took a hit. Even Kyrie, everyone talked about Kyrie to a different level. As soon as LeBron came through, Kyrie was like now the sidekick.
Yeah, Kyrie
LeBron's
automatically
star
becomes
was
a factor.
huge. It's huge. It's undeniable. His star power in the league with the magnitude with the media, it's huge, man. And I'm telling you, Dwayne Wade, Mr. Miami himself, he he had to step aside, man. Remember how him and LeBron always talk about that first season? They kept on clashing. Then Wade was like, "Yo, let me step to the side." Like he swallowed his pride for that. Cause I remember him saying in an interview, Wade said that, hey, it killed him to do that. It killed him to step to
But
the
he
side
also
like
started
that.
dealing with injuries too. So like Wade at that time, it only made sense because by 2014, Wade was no longer viewed as that same player anymore.
But he wasn't viewed like that in 2013. He stepped to the side.
Yeah, in 2013, I think it was kind of like you saw like a decline in play where like 2010 Wade is different from like 2013 Wade due to like
No,
the
he
mileage.
had to be different. He had to be different.
Yeah,
because remember, look,
he had to be different. But I also think like Wade was the best shooting guard at that point. We can all agree on that, right? Like up to like what 2000, I'll say like 2011 to like 2004, 13, Wade was like the best shooting guard in the world. Like in my opinion, he was better than Kobe. James Harden wasn't that player yet, but he also had like a lot of his feet problems, like his leg problems, like the ACL and all those mileage adds up.
I
Because
would
at
say
that point,
his downhill really started 2013 after the back to
yeah,
back. Because the
that's
thing
when like
is,
you saw the mileage add up.
yeah, but the thing is, you look at LeBron's first year in Miami, Dwayne Wade was the best player in the finals. The numbers speak for itself. Dwayne Wade was the best player in Dallas Mavericks finals.
If Dirk didn't go ape shit, D Wade would have another Finals MVP in his trophy case.
So it's like he just didn't all of a sudden fall from grace. But I'm talking about that after that second season, like after they lost the finals, that's when Wade said, "Hey, LeBron, you're the guy. I'm stepping down." That's Wade. Because people mistake that for like a fall off. No, he said it. He stepped down. LeBron, you got the key.
I'm not saying he fell off, but I'm saying it's like Wade realized he was no longer that first option as he once was in that time period.
I personally don't think it's that. I just think it wasn't going to work with LeBron and his play style. It's just not. It's not gonna work. The only person I would say to make it work that way, where the person could kind of do them, is Kyrie Irving. People
I
don't
think
give
Anthony
Kyrie.
Davis makes it work, to be honest with you.
People
Because
don't
Anthony
give
Davis is
Kyrie
not a
that
player who
credit.
demands the ball.
Kyrie is so gifted. He actually kind of did him while LeBron was on the team. Like, he still did the razzle dazzle. He had LeBron just standing there looking. Like, why do we all think LeBron gave him the ball in Game 7 to seal the game? LeBron James stood to the side and watched Kyrie do him.
But you look at natural game, right? Like a natural game, and like you just watch him fluidly. Anthony Davis is like that best fit because like Wade and Kyrie kind of demand the ball. With Anthony Davis, he doesn't really want the ball like that.
Yeah, he's not really. You got to feed him.
He's not like,
you got to
give me the ball and let me do my thing. He's more of a, I want to be set up with the pick and roll. I want to be set up in the post, all that stuff. So he fits with LeBron. But I think maybe because I don't know. I think the conversation behind like off-ball players or maybe Anthony Davis, it could be the injuries, but it's changed a lot in regards of his reputation, because Anthony Davis in the New Orleans Pelicans was viewed as the best player in the world. 2020 was viewed as the best player. I mean, 2020, like in the Pelicans, viewed as like the best big man in the world.
Yo, he's the first overall pick, just like LeBron. But that's what happens when you team up with LeBron. Your star power disappears. Like, all these first overall pick guys have ego. Kyrie, after a while, he had ego. He left LeBron.
You think the rise of Jokic and Giannis kind of played into it? Because I'll even argue, like, before Giannis became a star, we all thought the league was going to be Anthony Davis's.
No, I didn't really think. I didn't think AD was alpha enough. But the only thing with AD,
but the media wanted Anthony Davis to be like remember like 2K16 used a cover and he was on the Olympics his rookie year, like not even his rookie. He hadn't even played an NBA game. He was on the Olympics team.
Yeah, but it was
the
something
league was
about
propping him up to be like the future.
Okay, I can give you the perfect example. You remember after they won the championship? I would say 2 seasons after they won the championship, the first 2 years after they won it, everybody was waiting for AD to take over. He just never did. And remember all those memes with AD in the wheelchair? Like, once those seasons went by in LA, and LA is the worst place to like kind of not be available, or just you kind of stinking it up. It's just AD.
It's not New Orleans.
But AD just kind of lost that status, man. I don't know how to explain it, but he just kind of lost that status. He went back to old AD, not healthy. What's the meme with him and he's like in a purple suit in the wheelchair? Yeah, it's like bro, he kind of lost that status, and it's hard trying to regain it back when you're sitting behind LeBron James.
Bro, but I also make an argument. I think I think a rise of Giannis kind of like took that conversation out of the gate, because I think when Giannis rose to stardom, right? We weren't looking at Anthony Davis. Like, once Giannis like beat him out completely, we didn't look at Anthony Davis the same way. Like, back then, everyone wanted to have that conversation. So I think that also probably changed a lot of the narratives in people's minds. It's like, he was never Giannis, because now it's becoming Giannis's league.
Yeah, true.
Because Giannis is the most popular player in the NBA. He's the most popular player in the NBA. The All-Star vote showed that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I'm saying like that's what's kind of like changed kind of the view on Anthony Davis too. I think the rise of like Giannis becoming a superstar.
Yeah, it did. You're right, because that forward position, and like you said with the All-Star voting, it's kind of showing it. But
it's like since 2020, 2021, you've seen a huge change in the conversation around them, where like, you remember that people were dogmatic on Anthony Davis being better, but like now you kind of like viewed stupid if you say the opposite. Like, if you say like Anthony Davis is better now, like people are just gonna look at you like you're stuck in 2019.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You don't have any final thoughts on the Kings?
The final thoughts on the Kings?
Because we kind of sidetracked with like LeBron and Anthony Davis talk.
Honestly, no matter what with Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox is out. This experiment is over.
Let me ask, like, what about Houston? Because I'm looking at Houston. If I'm Sacramento, I'm more intrigued.
Yeah, Houston does have the assets. They can get Cam Whitmore. They can even get Jalen Green.
Yeah, they can get Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet. Like, if you're I always say this. You look at the Sacramento Kings right now. I don't think that's a team that's worth rebuilding because you have a top 20 player in the league. Like I think Sabonis is a top 20 player right now as we speak, especially this month, right? Because he's having an all NBA season. So why would you like kind of bite the bullet and kind of restart, knowing that like no nobody really wants that. Like the Kings organization doesn't want that. You don't have a front office that's really trusted. At that point, you might as well commit to like trying to like compete with Sabonis and kind of milk out his contract for however many years he's there.
Matter of fact, Sabonis is gonna be there until 2028, 2029 season is the first.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying,
No, actually,
right? So you might as well
2027, 2028. My bad.
Yeah, and the Sacramento Kings already have a bad reputation of not taking care of kind of like their franchise players and competing. And like I'm gonna be honest, I think peak Sabonis is a lot better than like DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, but what's the upside to that? Like, let's say they got Fred VanVleet. He's coming off like he's on an expiring deal.
Yeah,
like I don't see what's the upside.
There's not any upside, but there's a lose-lose situation for the Sacramento Kings, to be honest with you.
Unless they get Jalen Green.
That's a plausibility. That's it.
Or, really, but like, or you know what? I'm not sure how the CBA works. What if they did a sign-in trade? They gave De'Aaron Fox the extension and traded him to Houston. I'm not sure if that could work out, where they could get Fred and Jalen Green.
Because like for me, it's like, bro, you know what I mean, right? Like for the Kings, it's not a win-win situation because regardless, you're gonna look bad with your fan base, but you also have like like I said, an all-star, premier all-star player. Your franchise player is still there. So like, what is the point in like trying to move things around?
Yeah,
it's drastically.
You said Sacramento could make a trade with Houston. What about Orlando?
I mean, if they're not gonna get Jalen Suggs, what's there to get? Like, who's gonna move the needle all that much if we're keeping it like honest? Like,
yeah, they're not gonna De'Aaron Fox is not really. Is he a shooter like that? A 3-point shooter?
He's a ball handler. He can attack the basket.
Yeah, but Paolo, he's doing that basically.
Paolo and Franz, they kind of already balled that. They already play it quite similar. And I just think like Suggs does a decent job.
Yeah, let me see what Houston has. Yeah, Houston has a lot of draft picks.
And they have like Cam Whitmore, who's already frustrated. You could get minutes in Sacramento.
Yeah, Houston. I mean, yeah, Houston got some assets.
They're more flexible.
Yeah. But they have a lot of players. But Houston is eventually going to have to make a trade. They got way too many guys.
Way too many chefs in the kitchen, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Like,
don't they got with this guy in the G League now? What's his name? The third overall
Reed Shepherd.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So if you're Sacramento, right? Like, you kind of like, you're kind of like, okay, like, if we trade with Houston, we could keep afloat and we got money to spend, right? You have more flexibility because you don't have to worry about Fox. You got Malik Monk on a long-term deal. At that, like, and you know, and all that stuff, right? And I think, like I said, bro, you don't want to be that team who trades away a prime star player, right? Unless he asks for a trade. But
in this situation, that's exactly what happened. He asked for a trade.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. But you don't want to trade the other one, right? The better star, like the bigger star, unless you're able to pull the Clippers, where like they're able to get shit ton of assets for a Blake Griffin trade, and obviously that leads to like 2019, the 2018 free agency where you get Kawhi Leonard. Then, like, you know, I don't think the Sacramento Kings play 4D chess in that regard. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it would be cool if the Sacramento Kings were able to play 4D chess like the Clippers were able to do. But would they be able to? Like, fuck no.
Nah, they can't. And it's not appealing. I mean, no offense to DeMar DeRozan. He's on that team for way too long.
He's on that team for way too long. But, like, you look at Sabonis, right? Like, this guy's having a record-breaking, like, season so far, you know? Like, he's in the league. He's in a conversation with only Wilt Chamberlain. That's fucking crazy. Domantas Sabonis makes history by being the second player after Wilt Chamberlain to average 20-plus points, 20-plus rebounds, 10 assists on 80% shooting. Obviously, like, he's an all-NBA player. So, like, if you're Sacramento, you got to be stupid to, like, let that go.
It's crazy. Without De'Aaron Fox, how does that even look like?
Bro, I mean, is this gonna be like I said? Is this gonna be Sabonis dominated offense? But like Sabonis needs a guy he could hand off pass with, right? So that's why I'm like, Fred VanVleet makes the most sense in that regard, as like kind of being a facilitator, and VanVleet can play off the ball off of Sabonis.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Like I'm telling you, man, without Fox on this team, it looks a lot different, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
It looks
Without
a lot
Fox
less
there,
appealing, but I think the Sacramento Kings never been that appealing of a team because the Kings never really like this stretch. This stretch is like Sabonis dominance. We can all agree on, like you and I agree on that. But like other than that, like can Sabonis take a team far? Fuck no. But can the Kings really afford to like go back to having no identity? It doesn't it doesn't fit. Like it doesn't make sense for the Kings. Like if any other franchise, let's say like I don't know, like the Chicago Bulls, I'm calling for a rebuild, right? Because it only makes sense because the Chicago Bulls, they have the history of building competent franchises. You can't say the same thing about Sacramento Kings. Bro, the last time they had a competent franchise, I was like 1 year old.
yeah, Sacramento, they've been it's pretty much been self-inflicted.
Yeah. Because and you don't want to further that wound, you know what I mean? So like when you have a guy like Sabonis who I'll say probably is like what gonna be end up he's gonna be what four, like he's gonna earn his third All Star, I think like his third All NBA this season under the Sacramento Kings. That is like one of your greatest franchise players at that point. It's like he's higher than De'Aaron Fox in my opinion when you look at all time Kings player. You don't want to kind of fumble that up and kind of continue building on that stereotype of the Sacramento Kings being like a graveyard of franchise players.
But you see, like here's a conundrum though, right? Because there are these group of players that are valuable, they're productive, but they don't really move the needle for a whole team. And
No, they
Sabonis,
don't.
because Sabonis, even though he's gonna make third All NBA, right? Julius Randle
Yeah.
was like on the same path last season. He did make All NBA before on the Knicks, and he was as productive. He had like 5 assists, almost a double double, over 24 points a game. He had
Yeah.
about 9 something rebounds, like 5 assists, and shooting great percentages. And he just didn't really move the needle.
They're both great regular season teams, right? But I also think like the Knicks played it off smart with Julius Randle, right? Because they rode with Randle. Like there was Knicks fans calling for his trade after like the first playoff failure, but the Kings rode it out until they could get a better deal. That is the most ideal thing the Sacramento Kings can do at this point. You kind of have to ride it out until you can get a better deal.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because sometimes teams get stuck in this being in the middle. They're always going to be in the middle no
Well,
matter
for the
what.
Kings, it's probably best to be in the middle. Like that's a championship for the Kings.
Yeah, the Kings, but they've always been in that middle. Remember when they used to have, what's that player? Something Martin in the Kings.
Kenyon Martin?
Yeah, I
Kenyon
think
Martin? No,
no, not Kenyon Martin. Something
Kevin Martin.
Kevin Martin. Yeah, he used to be a
Yeah.
guard. Yeah, he was killing it, but he was
Yeah,
never gonna
but Kevin-
lift that team past a certain level.
Yeah, I mean, DeMarcus Cousins had multiple All-Star appearances, and he never lifted that team to any level. And he saw a bunch of incompetency. Same with De'Aaron Fox. Sabonis trade brought them competency. So, you know what I mean? Like you leave a bad taste with all your franchise players or all like the big deal players in your organization. You don't want to continue on that reputation, especially a team like kind of like in the dirt at Sacramento. That's why I'm like,
I feel
at
like
some point,
I
like
feel like the Sabonis trade made them stable.
yeah,
It
that's
was
what I'm
like
saying. It made them way stable. It made them way stable. It made them a much more like watchable team. Like we're not gonna I didn't watch Sacramento like that before the Sabonis trade.
okay. So let me ask you a question: what happened with some of their picks or just some of their younger guys like Keegan Murray? What happened to the Kevin
He
Herter
dipped.
trade?
They all dipped, right? Kevin Herter is a guy who like with the Hawks, he seemed like a decent enough role player, helped them like go to the Eastern Conference. They dipped. But I just think Sacramento's never been a team good at developing players. Sabonis, like his game is natural. You're using Julius Randle. Julius Randle did a good job in working on his game, With Sabonis, he's a lot more natural with this game. Besides, like the 3-point, he's really worked on. And he's not a player they really had to develop. But other than that, the Kings, you look at their development, it's really mediocre. Look at their draft picks. Like, who have they really hit on in their history? You know, like
as
okay,
of
you drafted.
recently.
As of recently, it's only been Fox, and like Halliburton became a star somewhere else. So I don't really count Halliburton in that conversation.
Yeah, didn't they have Mitchell? Mitchell he seemed like he was gonna be a good defender, and then he's not on the team anymore.
No, he's on Toronto. I remember what was it? Like, look, Willie Cauley-Stein, he kind of like fizzled out the league. You remember Jimmer Fredette? He kind of became a superstar in China.
But let's stay on this version of the Kings. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's just we talked about this, I believe, in the offseason, even last year, I believe, even like,
yeah.
What were the Kings kind of like? What was the next move to put them in the next tier?
They should have got a wing defender.
Even though sometimes their 3-point shooting is lacking, because Herdia and Keegan Murray, they're not really knocking down shots.
Yeah, like right now it's a Domantas Sabonis carry job for the Kings, no matter which way you look at it. Like, people praise Doug Christie, but it's like when your franchise player is scoring, like catching basically almost every rebound and every point and every assist, and looking like, you know, in my opinion, like the top 3 centers right now, as of right now, it's Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, and Sabonis. Sabonis is probably like in the weaker position out the 2 other centers, and is in that conversation, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I still don't get the. I'm not gonna lie, man. DeRozan, you know, he's a mid-range assassin, man. But
yeah, it's like I'm not saying the Kings can make any move to become a title contender. Fuck no. But at this point, like, I'm looking at the Kings, I'm like, man, you're better off just trying to build some identity and do like fan service with Sabonis, and try to get like at least a couple more All-Star appearances before you try to ship him off. Because I'm like, bro, you tanking and you still having Sabonis, you're getting a top 15 pick.
I don't know.
Because like Sabonis is too good for them to lose.
Sabonis is great, but what I'm saying in the league right now, there's this like, I don't know. There are these stars that are not. They're like other player reliant. I should say that.
Yeah.
They're other player reliant, and that's where Julius Randle kind of falls into this. Brandon Ingram, these guys are other player reliant.
And those guys aren't getting demands in the market, right? Those guys are not getting demands in their market. So like, I also view like, I don't know like what demand would Sabonis get. Like, I think regular season, like, it impresses a lot of people, but if you're an organization, you look at his playoff record with Indiana and Sacramento, it's not pretty.
No, it's not.
He's a dropper. So that's why I'm like, man, Sacramento, like, you're better off just milking this out and just try to, like, you know, just be like a fan favorite, mediocre team, like kind of like Portland did with Dame. You just have to do that. It's pretty like shameless, but that's just all you can do.